when we began to prepare ourselves to become sage, to become sagacious.
Right.
That's what I mean
Sagacious.
by sageism, not
Sageism,
negativity.
right.
Yeah,
No,
sageism.
absolutely.
And so when I began to adopt that attitude,
Right.
a lot of things shifted for me in terms of how I wanted to share my knowledge through the various classes that I do pro bono, as well as ones that I do for tuition.
Right.
And even how I view my life rhythm
Right.
in a much less complicated.
Right. Well, you're absolutely describing my thoughts, because as white hats, we're here kind of bringing old rivers into modern day mainstream.
Yes.
Here, yours with the West African traditions,
Yes.
and mine with the ancient esoteric tarot, which has been pretty much debased into some fortune-telling.
Right.
Wacky game,
Right.
if you will.
Part of the game of life.
Exactly. But my Voyager deck, and I intentionally created a 21st century tarot that's not old medieval kings and queen and blood and sword and all that kind of stuff, but a real map, a psychological map of who we are as human beings.
Yes.
And I call it the Huniman. The Huniman is the universal human.
Yes.
So that we are the trees, we are the skies, you are me, I am you, we are man and woman, we are child and sage.
Yeah, well,
and
you know, as one of your first students, maybe the first student, and when you came out with the Voyager course, one of the things that impressed me was the way in which you changed the court cards, so that there's actually a sage for each of the suits.
Yes.
And that, what I recall, that also impressed me about that was that the sage becomes the essential element of that particular suit. And that's what it is, and that connects.
Right.
As a sage, one should now be moving into the stage where he or she becomes the particular art form that he or she has and is
the
living.
wisdom of our age,
Correct.
coming into life as the elders that are here, and that is an incredible identity.
Yeah, an elder does not mean simply sitting back. It means you're still dynamic, you're still active.
Totally.
But you also accept the transformation. I won't say limitation or restriction. It's the transformation.
Exactly.
Because what we may begin to diminish physically, we can amplify emotionally. We can amplify it mentally, and certainly amplify it spiritually. So it's not it's not either or.
Right.
It's both and. We've talked about that.
Right. And with Voyager also, since it's a holistic, multidimensional, inclusive map of ourselves, because that's what we need. I mean, these belong groups that have given us identity don't really work anymore. Just because I'm a man, so what? I'm a woman, so what? I'm an American, so what? It doesn't mean much anymore. Everything's changing.
Well, it always has been, but
Right.
the way it was stated, it seemed to be that these were discrete identities.
Exactly.
But the truth is, that's not how we lived our lives.
No, but that's kind of where we seem to get our sense of self and confidence from that. But when those are changing, then the very foundation's being eroded.
And that's the
under
very thing that a sage is liberated from.
Right. Well,
and so sageism is a form of liberation.
It is a form of liberation
from those old categories.
Right. But so that's why Voyager to me is a new identity. It gives us a transcendent identity that goes beyond these traditional groupings of belong groups of age or gender or nationality, any of that stuff. It's way beyond that. That's there. So the most important part of this map would be these archetypes, these sub-personalities that live within us, like the wise woman priestess, or the manifesting magical magician who can make stuff happen.
The organizing emperor.
All of those.
The birth-giving empress.
Absolutely. The healer, the hermit. And all of these are incredible living sub-personalities within us, and they haven't gone away.
No.
And just because you're 80 or 75 or 55, they're still there. And all my teaching is about contacting that within us and activating.
Yes.
Because that's where our powers and resources
that's consistent
are.
with all wisdom teachers. That's just very consistent with the spirituality of Vodun, of Ifa,
the Western
tradition. Yes.
Right.
Aboriginal spiritualities have always taught that there's a continuity between what we call life, what we call eldership, even what we call death and reincarnation.
Right.
Life is cyclical.
Exactly.
And it is both and, not
Right.
either or.
Well, it's universal. It totally, it transcends those ordinary kind of mundane belong groups that we call here. It's much more, as I say, inclusive of it all. We don't really lose it, although we, like as a sage, we become more adept at certain parts of our lives that we weren't before.
When we have difficulty accepting becoming sagacious, then we stagnate. And then the stagnation can be a form of death. Before death. A form of death before the end of one's
Well, and one of the things, like in Voyager, there's children cards, and the idea is to be both, sage and child.
Right.
And one of the children...
They dovetail.
Totally, and one of them is called the learner. And if you're not into lifelong learning, you're dying. And that's one of the great wisdoms of the sage-like life. Just because I'm whatever age doesn't mean I don't keep learning and experiencing and discovering and rebirthing and re-being.
Rebirthing and birthing. And here's the other side of being a sage, of course, is to become a either literal and or metaphorical parent and grandparent for the next generation. Say life is not just for you.
Right.
It is for the planet. It is for
it's
humans,
leaving a
animals.
legacy so that the Earth is going to be better off. After we're gone.
Yes. And some would say, so it'll be better off when you come back. You want to leave it. Exactly. You want to leave it in good shape so that when you come back, it's better than when you left it. It's a wonderful way of thinking about it.
Well, so what I do with Voyager as a practice, because I think a spiritual tradition, a wisdom tradition, a sage tradition or path needs a practice. I mean, something we can focus on, because I really talk a lot about mindfulness, being mindful of who we are, and we are sages at our age, and we intentionalize that, but we need to remember that and not lose that awareness. So that's my practice, is a card a day. A card a day keeps the devil away, the shrink away, death away, basically.
And rejuvenates.
And
another thing
totally
about
renewable.
Sage,
You're right.
A sage has, or should, have discovered the principle and the practice of rejuvenation, reusing
your life, reuse, repurpose, restart, rejuvenate, renew, repurpose, to me, that's the Holy Grail. And so instead of retiring, which is a funny word, it's about refiring.
Right. I like that, refiring.
But again, it's about knowing, okay, we're still valid, we're here, we're kicking, and we got value. But we kind of have to title it in a way. I mean, it's kind of too bad. I mean, when we say sage, that's a title. We give it a name, but I say if you can name it, you can claim it.
That's right.
And if you can title
make it a
you're entitled to it.
It's saging.
Saging. Actually saging ourselves. And that's what I do every day.
Me too.
I pick a card on my sage today, or what I can learn about being a sage today, or where my wisdom is, or what I can learn for the day. And so this is the old tarot. This is not fortune telling, hocus pocus.
No, this is looking at archetypes.
Absolutely. It's a spiritual psychology.
A universal connection.
A universal connection. We haven't...
representations in
and as a sage, we are really integrating so much of what we were as a youth, so much as where we were as a father and a mother, actively with family and all of that. And now we're at another stage, an age of life.
Of grandparentship, metaphysically understood, and multidimensionally understood. That's a good idea. That's a good way of thinking about that. Is that even if you're not a physical, quote unquote, grandparent, you now are in that season of life where you are a Baba or an Iya. You're still an elder. And you have something and someone you're responsible for.
It's funny though. Sometimes people look at me as a sage, and I like to look at myself as a sage, but sometimes I feel almost uncomfortable about that.
No, I don't think you should feel uncomfortable.
No, I don't think I should, but I have some of that. Like, well, what do I really know, really?
Well, see, it's not just about intelligence.
You got it.
It's a combination of experience and wisdom and discretion. in a given context,
right,
on the accumulation of life experience.
Right.
That's the difference.
You know, it's a huge difference, but really honoring and respecting ourselves for that. But then people say, so, okay, you're a sage, now what?
Now live.
Now live. But
it's always now what? And the answer is always live.
Live. Yeah.
Live to the fullest.
Right.
Of who and where you are.
Right.
Now.
And so if you connect with the sense of aliveness of living, I mean, truly living mind, heart, body, spirit holistically, so you're synergistic, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. I mean, how to do what financially and all that kind of stuff that we confront.
Yeah, right. Holistically.
Right.
Because what is sustainable can vary from person to person. But
clearly.
if you're at war with yourself about it, you're impoverished.
You are impoverished.
When you're not at war with yourself about it, you'll find peace.
Right. So the key is just really embracing yourself, your whole self.
Knowing who you said it at the beginning. It's really about knowing who you are honestly, who you are, and how you've gotten to where you are.
Right.
Correcting those things that you can and should correct, and then accepting those things that you know are part of your rhythm. And in that, you are less conflicted. And when you're less conflicted, you find more peace.
And I think, I mean, everybody's got a sense of self-esteem or low self-doubt and all that, but all of us have genius. All of us have wisdom. Everybody's got it.
The reason you are here is because you got it.
Right. So it's really claiming that,
That's right.
becoming a sage, titling it, and I think, wow, then we can really live. We're on our way. We're not going to croak and optimize.
And be open-ended.
There you go.
Open-ended.
Open. Woo, what a great conversation, Will. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. So we are the White Hats. I'm James Wanless.com. You can see my website, and I teach classes on how to activate these incredible archetypes within us, including the sage.
Absolutely.
Sages that we are.
Yes.
Okay, take care, you guys.
See you
We'll
later.
be back. We'll be back.